Anyway, so story. Right, before I do all this, I'll be scoring most of the points out of 10, and then I'll do an average. It's just basically my own little score to see how I felt about the game. So, story. Story is fantastic. The overall narrative went from... It was quite a slow burn to begin with, but introduced you all the characters, which is nice. Set the scene. But it also started off showing you all their challenges that they had to go through very early on, and how that slowly progressed and just turned into a massive shit show, essentially, as Dutch started making wrong choices. But the progress of the story was very well done. Carefully took you through each area, which I quite liked. And yeah, I don't feel like there was much of it that was forced. In terms of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Pacing. It seemed about right. There's plenty of side quests that kept you engaged, that added to the narrative, but it didn't seem to take away from it. I was quite happy to do them. I didn't feel like I was really forced to do any of the side quests. I've actually found them quite interesting. And I was quite invested as well. You probably remember from when we were dealing with the Braithwaites and the Greys, I was actually quite invested in seeing what happens to Romeo and Juliet. So yeah, and right up to the end as well, all of it cranked up into a climax with Arthur, with his last showdown on the mountain. That was very, very cool. And then you saw his end, looking into the sunset. It's very cowboy. So yeah, so everything with Arthur was very good. The John bits was a little bit slow, but I assume the epilogue is mostly for building up to the next game and setting the tone and the background for it. So yeah, I think overall the narrative and the story was very well done, and given the down points in John's story, I think I'd happily give that a 9 out of 10. Just for that, so let's do that quickly. Story, 9 out of 10. Now, if we go back there, I do think you get his weapon. Nice. But it's also Michael's weapon. No thank you. Happily burn it along with his body. Characters. 9. Not even a 10. No, it's. I don't think it's a perfect story, but I think it's a good story. A perfect story would have no downtime. Keep me invested going over and over again. The only reason it's not got a 10 is because I felt that the epilogue was a bit slow. Like, doing some farm work at the beginning of John's thing. I was like, no thank you. It was just Arthur, though. I'd give that a 10 out of 10. I think throughout the entire story for Arthur's part, I just want to keep going. There's no real time when I felt like, oh, this is a bit of a slog, or felt fed up with it. Even the side quests, as I said. But it was only John's side that I'd reduce it by a point. Characters, design-wise, fantastic. Everyone feels like a cowboy. So they've set the tone very well. Every character's personality was unique. They all had their own wants and desires and their motivations for doing what they're doing. And I think they played into it quite well. I think this was a case where Rockstar did a great job of setting the characters, setting an overall narrative, and then I think what they might have done was just let the characters play off each other based on what they would do, based on their personalities as well. So I think everyone was really believable. They're all lovable as well. I mean, Lenny was my favorite guy. He was just a side character. I loved Lenny. But I think that happened mostly because we got a little bit of party time between him and Arthur, and then they built on it later on. So yeah, him just being shot in the stomach later on was a bit sad. And I didn't even get a chance to save him. But yeah, Jose as well. I mean, they dump you with so many characters to begin with, but it took me a while to learn their names, and finally got there. And yeah, I think they're all well done. I mean, a loss of a character felt like an actual loss as well. And like you've seen from me as well, I really dislike Micah, but that's another example of a character being well done. He really, really grinds the player the wrong way, and you feel like you really want to put a bullet through him. So yeah, bad guys, good guys, even the guys in the middle, all very well done. Even the NPCs. Hamish. Hamish was very well done. Like, Arthur's only real mate in the entire world. And then he gets gored by a boar. So his loss felt very sad. But yeah, Hamish especially, he felt like a person, like one of the very few people who Arthur actually had some buddy time with and opened up like in a realistic manner, as opposed to him being on guard all the time with the rest of the guys. Character development, also very good. Especially John, but I think that's a given. I thought John was a real idiot when you first meet him. He was just some lug and a gun, saving him from early on from the wolf, dragging him on. But then he builds up. He gets a lot of development, and yeah, he was the main character of the next game, so of course he would. But you grow to like John, which is nice. Arthur, very likable from the very beginning. He also gets a lot of development. Same with Sadie, and there's a lot of characters that do. So I can't really say there's been any bad characters from that. And they're all very believable, which is the main thing. So character-wise, I think I'd happily give them a 10 out of 10. So, music and sound. Music and sound's fantastic, but it's nothing to write home about. They set the tone well. They just work for where they are. But for the majority of the game, yeah, that sounds alright. Playing some Western music during the times when it's necessary, like when you're riding off to meet your final end, or you have those final stand downs. Even going up the mountain, all very good. For those special moments, they do a fantastic job. But I feel like they fall short on basically the times when you're not really doing anything. Especially when you're riding from place to place. It would have been nice if they found some way to set the tone with some music, whatnot, when you're traveling. But that's my thoughts anyway. It did the job. I wasn't wowed by it, but I also wasn't like, there's some problems here and there. There was absolutely no problems with the sound at all. But none of the soundtrack wowed me like Expedition 33, where I just went, right, I really need to get a soundtrack for this game. Unfortunately, this game didn't do that, but yeah, like I said, it worked. So sound-wise, sound/music, I personally would rate it an 8 out of 10. Gameplay, mechanics, and gameplay loop. Right. This is where I think the game does struggle a bit. It could be because I worked on it via a PC. But there was a lot of jank. Oh, the butcher got some... finally got his own actual shop. That's nice. See? Character's well done. Right there. I actually cared about him, even though he was a bit of an idiot and a side character. Yeah, anyway, gameplay-wise. Majority gameplay, core gameplay was good. I didn't really have much of a problem with the shooting and the riding and the exploration. The real jank came in when Rockstar tried to be smart with its scripted scenes and consistency as well. There's a bit of trouble there. By consistency, I mean they've allocated the E and the R keys to basically interact with an item or something or other, and they switch between the two on an irregular basis. So there's a bit of jank around that, and they had tooltips on the side to help you guide you through what you needed to press, but sometimes they just didn't work. Like fishing, for example, that was very hard to get around with. Like I said, the E and the thingies. There are times when the characters seem to get stuck. There was a bit of bug that might get in the way. So yeah, I felt like that it detracted me enough from the gameplay for me to notice it. So yeah, core gameplay, fantastic. It works well with the majority of the time, but there is some jank in there that I just didn't like. There was one thing on top of my head, I can't remember what it was, but I recall there was a part of the game where the mechanics were really doing me in. The menu is horrible, nobody is a fan of it, but a lot of the issues you've had with the keyboard is keyboard thing. Yeah, I think so too. I have a feeling that they might have done a smart conversion for PlayStation controller. I couldn't get it to work. And I'd committed at that point, so yeah, it is what it is. So, but yeah, controls wise, like I said, the core gameplay is fine. It's only those odd scenes where I felt like I really needed to. The controls were letting me down more than I would like. Switching between melee and gunplay as well was a thing that I found quite difficult. Doing various things like cleaning my gun. Took me ages to remember that I needed to press the middle mouse button whilst I'm on the weapon select bit to actually clean my gun. Like, it's really convoluted. So it's like you could probably just do another shortcut somewhere, easy enough. But I don't know if that's a translation thing for them to get control between controller and keyboard and mouse as well. So they cater for everything. Yeah. But controls and gameplay wise. The gameplay loop was fantastic. I mean, you had your main quest, you had your side quests. You just do a mission, gives you an overall score at the end. It was fine. It's fantastic. It was good. There were some side quests I didn't need to do. Didn't feel like I needed to do anyway, and that was also good. So yeah, are there any mini games? No, there's some mini games, but they weren't mandatory, so they don't commit a sin by making you do that, like in Final Fantasy Rebirth. So yeah, gameplay wise, I think what really lets it down is the controls, so I can let that slide a bit. So I'd happily give that a fairly high score of 8 out of 10. Graphics is the next point. Graphics is fantastic. I can't believe that this game is like 5-6 years old. Everything looks amazing on PC. I found plenty of times that I was looking out at the scenery, just taking in the view and the environment around me. The people, the world feels really well lived in. So yeah, graphically and the world wise, I think I'm just going to give it a 10 out of 10. Rockstar have done a very good job. I think this game's older than GTA 5? 2018. 7 years. This game's 7 years old and it looks better than in the latest GTA, if I'm honest. Not the one that's about to come out, but the one with Trevor and Michael and Travis, I think his name was. Yeah, this game looks fantastic. So graphically, I think it's aged very well, considering it's been 7 years. Oh, it's 2013. Okay. I'll forgive it then. Graphically, 10 out of 10. Yeah, Arthur. Burst of Righteousness. So yeah, graphically, it's great. Right. Is it worth playing in 2025? Is another question I had. Answer is definitely. I think everyone should play this game. It's a very well-made world. It feels like you're playing in an actual Western. It's very believable. And if shooters and Westerns are your thing, I would highly recommend it. I think the story alone is very much worth playing. As I said, the characters are well made. You feel invested in them. You feel they're like their journey. Like when Kieran got blasted in the face randomly, I was like, oh my god, he just died. And that also affected the player in the way that, like, yeah, it felt like a loss. So yes, I would highly recommend this game for 2025. And I think I would happily rate this game as a general play. So yeah, let's tot up the scores overall. So what have we got? We have a 9 plus 10 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10. Now we divide that by 5 for an overall score of 9 out of 10. So overall score is 9 out of 10. Well done. Yeah, so that's my reviews. I really enjoyed this game. Thank you, Mr. Cranky, for the recommendation. And thank you, Ian, for the recommendation, if you ever happen to watch this review from me. You're right, it was a fantastic game. Ah. Oh god, they found John. They found John and they're just walking away. One of the few games you'd always recommend? Yeah, I think it was a very good shout, so thank you very much for that. As a side note, I think I mentioned this before, I'm not a huge Western fan. And the fact that the game's won me over this way is quite a feat and quite amazing. Alright. Let's skip the rest of the credits and see what happens. But anyway, I am going to stop the recording here for a minute because that's basically game done.
Marston, since you bought this millstone around our necks, we better try and keep this place going.
I paid our debts with that money. I
don't want to talk about that money. And no more that...
It's over, Abigail.
I'm sure. Then get to work on this ranch you own and raising your boy.
Yes, ma'am.
He got married, he's now whipped. Brilliant. Right.
Never.